So let's say you're a tech company and you want to sell your awesome cloud software to the US government. Well, you're not just walking into a sales pitch. You're walking into what is arguably the ultimate security test. Today, we're going to dig into that test and why one of its biggest hurdles, it's not about your code. It's about proving who people are. So let me ask you this. What do you think is the single toughest security test for any tech company trying to break into the federal market? You know, it's a question that probably keeps security officers up at night. And the answer? It might surprise you. It has less to do with firewalls and encryption and a whole lot more to do with something way more personal: identity.
All right, so the answer to that question, it all comes down to something called the FedRAMP High Challenge. And look, this isn't just another compliance checkbox you tick off. For companies that play in this space, getting this certification is basically the cybersecurity version of climbing Mount Everest. Seriously.
Now, the official terms you'll hear are FedRAMP High and DoD IL4/5. And to put it simply, these are the absolute gold standard. If a company wants to handle the government's most sensitive but still unclassified data in the cloud, they have to pass this test. It's the ultimate seal of trust.
But here's the twist. This whole thing isn't just about protecting servers in a data center. One of the biggest, toughest hurdles is actually about the people using the system. It all boils down to digital identity and answering one absolutely critical question. How can the government be 100% certain that the person logging in is actually the right person?
And this is where so many companies get tripped up. The real make-or-break challenge is meeting a very specific standard called Digital Identity Level 3. This is where the compliance journey goes from being complicated to being incredibly specific and, frankly, incredibly difficult. So what is this Level 3? Well, it's really three different things. First up is IL3, which stands for Identity Assurance Level 3. This means you can't just sign up with an email and password. Nope. You have to prove you are who you say you are, either in person or under live, supervised, remote observation. Think about getting your first driver's license. You had to show up with your documents in front of a real person. It's that level of seriousness, but for your digital life.
Okay, next up is AAL3, or Authenticator Assurance Level 3. So once you've proven your identity, you need a key to get in. And we're not talking about a password you type, or even a code that gets texted to your phone. AAL3 demands a physical, hard cryptographic device, something like a government PIV card or a YubiKey, a physical thing that is completely separate from your computer. It's the difference between something you know and something you physically have.
And finally, the third piece of the puzzle, FAL3, or Federation Assurance Level 3. This is the magic that makes that super secure key actually useful. It's what ensures that your one highly vetted identity can be trusted and used across a whole bunch of different government systems, without you having to prove who you are over and over again. It's all about creating secure and seamless access.
So that's a massive three-part identity problem, right? How in the world does a company actually solve this? Well, the material we're looking at today zeroes in on one specific approach called PresenceID, which was basically designed from the ground up to tackle this exact problem.
And the key phrase to focus on here is a purpose-built solution that tells you everything. This wasn't some feature that got bolted onto another product as an afterthought. No, it was engineered from day one with one very specific goal in mind: to nail these incredibly tough government identity rules.
But, okay, how does it actually work in the real world? Let's break down the process, because the whole point here isn't just to be hyper-secure, it's to make that security something that a modern, often remote, workforce can actually use without pulling their hair out. The whole thing is really just 4 steps. First, an employee just goes to one of these network locations, and get this, no appointment needed. Second, they connect live with a remote agent who walks them through the whole process at a secure kiosk, scanning documents, capturing biometrics, the whole deal. Third, they're issued their physical credential, like that smart card we talked about. And finally, they activate it. The entire process is designed to take just a few minutes. Pretty slick. Now that might sound pretty straightforward, but you know the old saying, the devil is in the details. What is it that makes a system like this actually compliant with those strict IL3 standards, especially when other remote methods might not make the cut? Let's take a look at what sets it apart. Okay, this table really breaks it down. We've got live human supervision. Check. It's all done at a secured and monitored kiosk with tamper-resistant hardware. Check, check. But here's the one I want you to really focus on. No end-user control of device. That is so key. It means you can't just use your own phone or your laptop for this, because that device can't be trusted to this standard. It has to happen on purpose-built, locked-down hardware, and the whole process is Kantara-certified, which is a huge third-party stamp of approval.
So let's talk about the big picture. What's the real payoff for an organization that goes this route? Why jump through these high-tech hoops to get this done? What's the bottom line?
Well, the payoff is pretty huge. Right off the bat, a massive barrier to getting that FedRAMP high certification is just gone. Companies can now securely onboard their hybrid workforce no matter where they are, which cuts down on the crazy high costs of old-school in-person identity proofing. It's a system built to scale for huge companies, it gives you a perfect audit trail, and it makes onboarding new people way, way faster. And that kind of leaves us with one last, much bigger question. We've been focused on the absolute highest level of U.S. government security, but as digital threats get smarter and more dangerous for all of us, is this the kind of thing we're going to see everywhere? Could this become the new normal for banking, for healthcare, for anything that requires real trust online? It's definitely something to think about.